All right, let's jump right in with today's deep dive. Buckle up because we're going back to the end of 2020.
Ooh, time travel.
Exactly. We're peeking into a report called Artificial Intelligence for the American People. It captures the Trump administration's AI strategy, which, as you know, is right up my alley.
It's like a time capsule of AI thinking.
It really is. And this thing, it's not messing around. It covers everything from research funding, where they were putting the money, to executive orders, and even how AI was impacting industries.
Like healthcare, manufacturing, even agriculture.
Exactly. Super broad scope. So just to give everyone a little taste, we're talking about things like AI predicting hurricane paths.
With incredible accuracy.
And that's not all. We'll also be looking at the SEC using AI to sniff out financial misconduct.
It's a pretty amazing snapshot of the potential they saw in AI back then.
Definitely a lot to unpack. So to kick things off, what were some of the big things happening in AI back in 2020?
Well, think about a world where AI helps save lives and property by predicting hurricane paths, way better than before.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
Right. Or how about AI algorithms being used by the SEC to keep our markets fair and transparent by catching financial bad guys?
That's wild. So they were already exploring these applications back then.
Oh, yeah. These were just a couple of the things they were looking at back then. Really gives you a sense of how they saw AI transforming things.
Sounds like they had big plans. So where do we even begin with all this?
Well, a good place to start is President Trump's 2019 executive order on maintaining American leadership in AI.
Yes. The executive order, a bold statement declaring the U.S. was all in on becoming an AI leader. But how did they actually put that into action?
It was more than just words. The executive order had 5 core pillars to it.
Okay, break those down for me.
So first, they wanted to pump up investment in AI research.
Yeah.
Then make federal data and computing power more accessible. Get those resources in the right hands.
Makes sense. You need those to fuel AI development.
Exactly. And of course, setting clear AI standards was key too. Then developing a skilled AI workforce, and finally forging international alliances.
So a really comprehensive approach.
Totally. They knew that to be a true AI leader, you needed a multifaceted approach. And to manage all these moving parts, they created the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office.
Okay, so like a central hub to keep everything on track.
Exactly. Think of it as a command center for AI strategy across the government.
Gotcha. Now let's dig into those research investments you mentioned. Where were they funneling all that money, and what were they hoping to achieve?
They committed to doubling non-defense AI research and development funding. They knew staying ahead of the curve in research was vital.
Doubling the funding, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
So who are the key players in this research push?
Agencies like the National Science Foundation, or NSF, and the National Institutes of Health, NIH, were major drivers. They often worked through public-private partnerships.
Smart move, combining the strengths of both sectors.
It was a powerful way to leverage expertise and resources from both sides.
So partnerships were key. But to develop cutting-edge AI, you need serious computing power and tons of data, right?
Absolutely. The report really stresses how critical robust computing infrastructure and data resources were.
Makes sense. You can't train AI algorithms on thin air.
Right. For example, the Department of Energy had its Summit supercomputer, a real technological beast capable of incredibly complex simulations and analyses essential for advancing AI.
Summit, an appropriate name for such a powerful machine.
Definitely. And then you had the NSF's Frontera supercomputer, the fastest system on any university campus at the time.
Wow, so they had some serious horsepower behind them.
Oh, yeah. These supercomputers were instrumental in pushing the limits of what AI could do.
So we have these incredible machines crunching numbers at warp speed. Where were they getting all that data from?
This is where things get interesting.
Yeah.
The government was actively working on making federal data more accessible to AI researchers.
I can imagine that being a bit of a tightrope walk, balancing potential with privacy and security concerns.
You're absolutely right. There's so much valuable data, but you have to be incredibly careful with sensitive information.
For sure. So how did they make sure AI was being developed and used responsibly?
Well, that's where the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, came in. They were spearheading the development of AI standards and guidelines.
Right. Standards are crucial. It's like establishing the rules of the road for AI so it benefits everyone without doing any harm.
Exactly. You need those guardrails in place. But we've talked a lot about the government's role. What about the private sector? How are they encouraging businesses to jump on the AI train? The Trump administration was very keen on creating a regulatory environment that would encourage AI development in the private sector. They didn't want to stifle innovation with unnecessary red tape.
So a pro-business approach that aimed to let the free market drive AI progress. Were there specific strategies they used to encourage businesses to adopt AI?
They proposed a set of AI regulatory principles designed to be adaptable and flexible, allowing for innovation to flourish while ensuring responsible development.
Sounds like a balancing act.
It was. These principles focused on things like public engagement, limiting government overreach, and promoting the development of trustworthy AI.
Okay, trustworthy AI. I like that. But how did this all translate into real-world applications? Were there any specific examples of government agencies using AI to improve their work or services?
Oh, tons. The Department of Transportation, for instance, was actively exploring AI's potential for driverless cars and drones.
Whoa, driverless cars and drones. That sounds like something out of the future.
I know, right? But they were becoming a reality fast. The DOT even launched the UAS Integration Pilot Program to figure out how to safely incorporate drones into our airspace.
So they were already testing this stuff out.
Oh, yeah. And NASA was also involved working on something called UAS Traffic Management, basically air traffic control, but for drones.
Wow, that's fascinating. Imagine drones zipping around delivering packages, maybe even people someday. It's
Yeah.
like a sci-fi movie come to life.
It really is. But AI was being applied in more grounded ways, too.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
The report highlights how AI was making its way into various sectors: healthcare, manufacturing, agriculture, finance, you name it.
Okay, you've got me hooked. What were some of the most exciting developments happening in those industries?
Well, in healthcare, the FDA was making some big moves. They approved the very first AI-powered medical device.
That's huge. A real game changer.
Absolutely. It marked a new era where AI could help doctors diagnose and treat patients faster and with more accuracy.
So AI potentially saving lives.
Yeah.
It's incredible. What else was going on in healthcare?
They were developing a framework for smart medical devices. Imagine EKG devices that can predict the likelihood of a heart attack.
That's mind-blowing. It really shows the potential of AI to revolutionize healthcare. But I'm also curious about the potential downsides, especially when it comes to jobs. Did they address those concerns?
Oh, absolutely. The Trump administration knew that AI could disrupt the job market, and that preparing the American workforce for those changes was critical.
It makes sense technology often creates new jobs, but can also make some existing jobs obsolete. So how did they plan to tackle this challenge?
They created the National Council for the American Worker and put a big emphasis on expanding apprenticeships, STEM education, and lifelong learning opportunities.
So they were looking at it from multiple angles, not just focusing on one solution.
Exactly. They recognized that a well-trained and adaptable workforce was key to staying competitive in the global AI race.
Smart move, because you can't just leave people behind as technology advances. But let's talk about the ethical side of AI a bit more. We touched on AI with American values earlier. Can you elaborate on that? What specific concerns did they have and how are they addressing them?
One of the biggest concerns was ensuring that AI systems were understandable and trustworthy. This idea of explainability was crucial. They wanted to make sure people understood how AI systems made decisions, especially when those decisions had real consequences for people's lives.
That makes a lot of sense. If an AI system is making decisions that affect you, you should have the right to know how it reached that decision.
Right. It's all about transparency and accountability. And this concern about explainability led to some fascinating research, like DARPA's Explainable AI program.
So what was that all about?
It was all about developing AI systems that could explain their reasoning and actions in a way that humans could understand.
Like being able to see behind the curtain and understand the logic behind AI's decisions, that definitely helps build trust and makes people more comfortable with AI's role in their lives.
Exactly. And this focus on responsible development wasn't limited to explainability. They also stressed the need for research into the broader societal impacts of AI, like how it might affect the workforce and the economy.
So thinking about the bigger picture and trying to anticipate any negative consequences so they could find ways to mitigate them.
You got it. They were definitely taking a strategic approach to maximizing AI's benefits while minimizing any potential harm.
It's like they were playing chess, thinking several moves ahead to anticipate potential problems.
That's a great analogy. But this wasn't just a domestic concern. They understood that AI was a global phenomenon and that international cooperation was essential for responsible development.
Absolutely. AI doesn't stop at national borders. What happens in one part of the world can affect everyone else.
Exactly. So how did they promote international cooperation in the world of AI?
Okay, let's dive into that because it seems like a really crucial piece of the puzzle.
Well, they were heavily involved in shaping international initiatives like the OECD AI principles.
Okay, refresh my memory. What were those again?
These principles basically provided a framework, for ethical and trustworthy AI development, and they've been adopted by lots of countries around the world.
So it's like trying to get everyone on the same page and establish some ground rules for AI development to make sure it benefits everyone.
That's the idea. And they were also part of the Global Partnership on AI, which focuses on collaboration and cooperation in AI research and development.
Okay, so working together to solve the challenges and seize the opportunities presented by AI.
Exactly. Bringing together the brightest minds from around the world to tackle this complex issue.
That makes a lot of sense. After all, AI is a global issue, and it's going to require global solutions.
You got it. And this report really highlights how the Trump administration recognized that.
It's inspiring to see how they understood that we're all in this together.
It's a powerful reminder that collaboration is key when dealing with something as transformative as AI.
Definitely. But now I'm curious to hear more about those industry-specific applications of AI. We've only scratched the surface there.
You're right. Let's take a closer look at how AI was being implemented in areas like transportation, healthcare, manufacturing, and more. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
Sounds good to me. Lead the way.
All right, let's dive in.
So we left off talking about AI with American values. It's a pretty catchy phrase, but what does it actually mean in practice?
Well, it's about ensuring that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits all Americans and reflects our core values like fairness, transparency, and accountability.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but how it's used and who it benefits.
Exactly. And a big part of that is making sure that American workers are prepared for the changes that AI will bring to the job market.
Right, because automation and AI have the potential to disrupt a lot of industries.
They do. And Trump administration was very aware of that. They actually took several steps to try to ensure that American workers wouldn't be left behind.
Like what kinds of steps?
Well, one of the key strategies was promoting a culture of lifelong learning.
Okay, that makes sense. With technology changing so rapidly, people need to be able to adapt and learn new skills throughout their careers.
Exactly. And the report highlights programs like the Advanced Technological Education Program, which works with colleges and businesses to train technicians who are essential in so many industries.
So it's about making sure people have the skills they need to succeed in a rapidly evolving job market.
Right? And apprenticeships were another big focus.
Apprenticeships, those are great. You get to learn on the job and gain practical experience.
Exactly. And the report mentions a task force specifically dedicated to expanding apprenticeship programs, especially in industries where they were lacking.
Smart move apprenticeships can be a really effective way to train people for skilled trades.
Absolutely. And they didn't forget about traditional education either. The report talks about a 5-year STEM education strategic plan developed by the National Science and Technology Council.
STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, those fields are going to be increasingly important in an AI-powered world.
You got it. The goal was to boost STEM literacy, attract a more diverse workforce to STEM fields, and basically build a pipeline of talent ready to tackle the challenges of an AI-driven future.
That focus on diversity is really important. We need people from all backgrounds with different perspectives and experiences contributing to the development of AI.
I couldn't agree more. A diverse workforce leads to more creative and innovative solutions.
Definitely. So they were investing in education and training to prepare the workforce. But what about those ethical concerns we talked about earlier? How did they plan to ensure that AI was developed and used responsibly?
A major focus was on making sure that AI systems were understandable and trustworthy. This concept of explainability was huge.
Explainable AI. I like that. It basically means being able to understand how AI systems make decisions.
Exactly. They want to make sure that people, especially those affected by AI's decisions, could understand the reasoning behind those decisions.
That makes a lot of sense. Transparency is so important when it comes to AI. It helps build trust and makes people more comfortable with its role in our lives.
It does. And this concern about explainability led to some pretty cool research initiatives like DARPA's Explainable AI program.
Tell me more about that. What was so special about that program?
Well, it was all about developing AI systems that could explain their reasoning and actions in a way that humans could easily understand.
So it's like lifting the veil on the AI's decision-making process, making it more transparent.
Exactly. It's about making AI more accountable and helping people understand how it works.
That's awesome. But it sounds like they're thinking about the ethical implications of AI beyond just explainability.
You're right. They also emphasize the need for research into AI's broader societal impacts, like its effects on the workforce and the economy as a whole.
It sounds like they were trying to be proactive and get ahead of any potential problems.
They were. They were thinking strategically about how to maximize AI's benefits while minimizing any potential harm.
Like anticipating challenges and coming up with solutions before they became major issues.
Exactly. And this wasn't just a domestic concern. They recognized that AI was a global phenomenon and that international cooperation was crucial for ensuring its responsible development.
That makes sense. AI doesn't stop at borders. What happens in one part of the world can have ripple effects everywhere.
Absolutely. So what were they doing to promote international cooperation in the realm of AI?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too because it seems like a really important piece of the puzzle.
Well, a big part of it was engaging with other countries to establish shared values and guidelines for AI development.
So, trying to create some sort of global consensus on how AI should be developed and used.
Right. They recognized that the U.S. couldn't tackle this challenge alone. It required a global effort.
And how did they go about fostering this international cooperation?
One way was through their involvement in initiatives like the OECD AI principles, which we discussed earlier.
Right, those principles provided a framework for ethical and trustworthy AI development.
Exactly. And the fact that many countries have adopted them shows that there's a growing international consensus around these values.
That's encouraging. It sounds like they were trying to create a global rule book for AI to ensure it's used for good.
That was definitely the goal.
Yeah.
And they were also involved in the Global Partnership on AI, which is all about promoting collaboration and cooperation on AI research and development.
Okay, so pooling resources and expertise from around the world to solve the challenges and seize the opportunities presented by AI.
Exactly. They understood that international collaboration was key to unlocking AI's full potential.
It's inspiring to see how they recognize that we're all in this together when it comes to AI.
It's a global issue, and
Yeah.
it's going to require global solutions. We need to be working together, sharing knowledge, and learning from each other's experiences.
Couldn't agree more. But now I'm curious to hear more about those specific applications of AI across different industries. We touched on a few examples, but there's so much more to explore.
You're right. Let's dive deeper into how AI was being used in areas like transportation, healthcare, manufacturing, and more. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
Lead the way. I'm ready for more.
All right, let's go.
It's pretty amazing how the Trump administration approached AI back then. They weren't just playing catch up. They were aiming to be a global leader.
What strikes me is how forward-thinking they were. This report, it's like they had a crystal ball and saw many of the challenges and opportunities we're still grappling with today.
It really does feel that way. Like they were setting the stage for the conversations we're having now about AI's impact on society.
Exactly. And they didn't shy away from the big questions either.
Yeah.
They knew that AI was a global issue that demanded global solutions.
So they weren't trying to go it alone on this.
Not at all. They recognized the need for international collaboration and actively engaged in initiatives like the OECD AI principles.
Which, as we discussed earlier, provided a framework for responsible AI development.
Right. And those principles have been adopted by countries all over the world, which shows how influential they were in shaping the global conversation about AI.
So they were really pushing for a unified approach to AI development, one that prioritized ethical considerations and human well-being.
Exactly. And beyond the OECD principles, they were also involved in the Global Partnership on AI, which brought together experts from around the world to collaborate on AI research and development.
A truly global effort to harness the power of AI for good.
Absolutely. And this report really underscores that AI is not just a technological issue, it's a societal issue, an economic issue, and a global issue.
It touches every aspect of our lives and will continue to do so in increasingly profound ways.
Which is why it's so important to be having these conversations, to be thinking critically about the implications of AI and how we can ensure its responsible development and deployment.
This report, it's like a roadmap for navigating those complex ethical, societal, and economic considerations that come with AI.
It's a reminder that we all have a stake in this and a role to play in shaping AI's future.
It's not just up to governments or tech companies. We all need to be engaged and informed to make sure AI is used for good.
Absolutely. And even though this report offers just a glimpse into a specific moment in time, those insights are incredibly relevant to the challenges and opportunities we face today.
It's a testament to the foresight and ambition of the Trump administration's approach to AI.
It's also a call to action for all of us to think critically about the future we want to create with AI.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question. What kind of future do you want to build with AI?
The power to shape that future is in our hands.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the Trump administration's AI strategy. We've covered a lot of ground, from research investments to ethical considerations and international collaboration.
And it's clear that AI will continue to be a defining force in the years to come.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
And remember, the future of AI is up to all of us.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.